Hello, everyone. This is Timeless. I'd like to welcome you all back to Timeless Talks, and glad to see a few. There's one or two viewers out there. This is for you guys and any of the others that happen to listen and like. If you can, hit that like and subscribe button. Be helpful for me right now. Just get a little further with my page. Get these words out there for people. I'm going to cover a couple topics today. Um, First off is common knowledge. The common knowledges that we have today that I think everybody should be aware of. And that first being that politicians and politics they lie. It is in the job description. It's pretty much what they have to do to get by. I mean, they're supposed to represent their state, their country, or their city, or whatever they're there to represent. And when they do so, they have to make sure they save the face of whatever they're representing. So they can't let that face get ugly. They can't let it get smeared. So they will lie to make that face look pretty. They will cover it up with as much makeup as they can by lying and try to save the face of whatever they're doing. Forgive me, I do make a lot of analogies, so bear with me on that aspect. I hope that doesn't bother too many. Um, and yeah, it's pretty much what they have to do though. They have to lie. It's the better the liar they are, the farther they seem to get in politics. I mean, look at the ones that are way up there. They can blow smoke almost up anybody's real, and it sounds good. Makes you want to buy it most of the time. If you sit there and just listen to them and focus on what they're saying, a lot of times you get that nudge inside of you that says, "Wow, they may be right. They're making some good points." But a lot of times when you check and reference the facts that they're trying to point out, you find a lot of missing things, a lot of missing information, or or inaccurate information, I should say, is better the term, because it's their job to lie, to make things look good. They got to make themselves look good and what they're representing look good. And I mean, at the top politicians nowadays, they just lie most of the time. The majority of them just lie, lie, lie. And I'm sorry, these are the people, they're empowered by us. The people give them power. They work for us. We are their employers, and we expect them to get things done. And that's one of the best ways that they lie. They say they'll fix this, they'll make this better, they'll lower this price, or they'll raise prices on this so we can get better revenue on it. And we say, okay, and they say, okay, we're going to put this plan into effect and this is how it's going to be done. And most of us don't check the pricings on these plans, but all these plans cost money. Everything they try to exact to do anything that they want to do, even humanitarianism acts, costs money. And a lot of times it's been found, that money isn't really as cheap as they say it's going to be every time. A lot of times the bill is way more than you expect it to be. And we're talking exponentially through the roof costs. And a lot of times we just don't realize it. We just have to go and research the numbers on a lot of like public city planning. You'll find a lot of the times they say it's going to be 1 million and it turns out to be 2 million. Suddenly the price costs and it takes longer to get done. And everybody wants a cut, but there's always the politicians that take a healthy cut themselves. And I'm like, I thought you were just there to barter the deal and get a paycheck for doing so. But apparently these guys are making tons of money off these plans. I mean, there's always backroom dealings. It's common knowledge. Who doesn't know about it? It was a big joke in TV and movies and sitcoms in the 80s. Like, it was common knowledge then. It's just nowadays they push away from it and they try to make everything look more exact and more legit. And I'm sorry, but it's still the same case. It's like any business, once you're in that business, if you've been in that business for a while, you tend to be able to learn how to be able to make more advantages off that business. So, that being said, I'm going to move to the next point in this, is that a lot of people like to laugh at, make fun of, and ridicule people that have or believe in or suspect conspiracy theories to be true nowadays. And if you look in our history, there have been at least 20, 30 solid mainstream conspiracy theories that were released that at the time people were laughed at like they were fools for. And I'm not talking UFOs, I'm talking like governmental conspiracy theories of testing on human subjects, of hidden attacks, hidden wars, secret dealings, terrorist acts, things of the nature. that people at the time were trying to speak out on, just like people today are trying to speak out on Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, a couple of the whistleblowers that immediately come to mind in this current age. But I mean, if you go back in the day, back 40, 50 years ago, there was a bunch of men that came out against the government and what the government was becoming. And as they came out, they lost their careers, they lost their families, they lost their lives, they met unfortunate accidents. I mean, it's no surprise nowadays that our government's not afraid, or at least some of the people involved in our government are not afraid to take human lives of any race and nationality without consequence, without being found, because most of them, you never really see the faces of the ones enacting the orders. It's just this poor bastard died from a heart attack, but they have poisons that induce heart attacks. And it's been proven in multiple CIA books and forgive me, I don't even know why I said retaliations, but in multiple documentaries and multiple what's the word? Forgive me. I should have wrote this down a little bit better. We'll get back to it. Anyway, the point being is that it is proven that the CIA, FBI, and NSA will use ruthless methods to get their purposes done, install puppet governments, things of the nature. It's common knowledge nowadays, and it's been proven that they did back in the days, and they did the same thing then as they screamed that these people were conspiracy theorists. But like the Tuskegee experiments, in the beginning, everybody was like, no, it's a conspiracy. Nobody would do that. You're crazy if you believe that. You're off your knocker. You wear a tinfoil hat. But then, 30 years down the line, all of a sudden, documents come out that prove the Tuskegee experiments were true, and they gave villages, I believe it was villages of men, syphilis. And I don't want to be wrong in the country they did it in, but it was in a country outside of America. But they completely, I hate being so lacking the information, but this is true. It was called the Tuskegee experiments, I believe. Yes, that was the term, Tuskegee experiments. And it was horrible, dude. They just infected a whole group of people to see what happens. They will use these new devices. If they're going to use them on a mainstream thing, they will throw them out there. It makes me worry, because I start to see breakouts of different viruses over here and over there. And you got to wonder if it's a new government experiment. And I'm not going to be like, every time it is, but you always got to throw the dice. You never know. Because we know the mainstream media, which is the next point I was going to point out, the mainstream media will lie through its teeth for the government ever since the CIA took it over. I believe it was back in the early 70s. And there's books and proofs on that the CIA had a whole program to take over the mainstream media. And these are it's history. It's things that are in our history. It's common knowledge in our history. It's just things that a lot of other people aren't pointing out directly, or isn't being pointed out enough, I believe. Because if it was, a lot of the things that are happening today seem very similar to the plans and the things they were talking about 30, 40 years ago, when they started really pushing all this. When we went from being a gold-backed dollar to an oil-backed dollar. I believe it was during Nixon's presidency. That being said, the mainstream media will use all types of methods in its own right to confuse and conflict and lie for the government, because they know if they lie for the government, they're going to stay. These people that lie for them, their jobs are going to be well taken care of. There's always somebody with a greater plan, because war is one of the greatest profit makers in the world. You can make trillions upon trillions of dollars off of war if you're selling the weapons and the guns and the bullets and the bombs and the tanks and the planes, or the technology for such, to make better, to make stronger, or to make faster and lighter, or however you would need it to be. There's money to be made in it. Trillions and trillions of dollars. The war industry is probably one of the best profiting industries in the history of man. And, of course, how else are you going to keep a war going? But you have to keep an enemy. You have to have an objective. You have to have somebody to look at and be like, I'm angry at this person. I want to take out my rage on them. Give me a stick. I need a stick. Well, most of the time, the guy selling the stick is saying, that guy over there just bought a bigger stick and said he's going to beat you with it. So that gets to my point of how the mainstream media will lie and use false flag events on so many occasions, and actors and such for so many. I believe a few of the false flags were like the Sandy Hook shootings, the Orlando shooting recently, the Boston bombings, like things like that, I believe were false flags to make people scared. Oh my God, just like 9/11, I'm sorry, I hate to say it too, but 9/11 I believe was a false flag. There's too many inconsistencies in the information. Um, there's too many there's too many lies being uncovered. Like if there was points where they were showing the media basically talking about the towers being hit. I believe it was anywhere from 4 to 10 minutes before the first plane hit, and they fucked up. It was a mess up in their broadcast, and they were like, "Oh shit," and they cut it off real quickly. But somebody was smart enough to get it on tape. Somebody was clever enough to have a VH a computer hooked up or whatever, and was like, "Oh, that's weird. Why is that on there? I'm gonna start saving now." And apparently, it wasn't supposed to be out yet. Of course, there's all types of things around that, but regardless, they needed an enemy, so they give you a false flag. They say, "Oh, look at this. This guy's over here burning down our shit. We need to go down and burn their shit. They need help." Because apparently they don't know how to treat us. And that's what we do all the time, and that's what I fear like they're going to be pushing us into nowadays is, you see the mainstream media covering this whole thing about Russia, about the hacking and everything. Like, I'm sorry, I remember at one point watching Obama himself say, "Hey, who could hack our presidential election? Who could rig that? Come on, that's crazy." And then I watched him a few months later saying, "Russia, it must be Russia hacking into our system." Yes, well, because they gave out all a bunch of information and emails on you people that made you look like the assholes that you really are. At least those individuals that did what they did and said what they said and acted as they did. Hillary and Podesta and all of them. I mean, you act a fool, you get caught for it. Don't be surprised. I mean, that's why you're not really hearing much from Hillary anymore. She's starting to become a quieter and quieter person. Obama's trying to take the lead, and I mean, who knows? Who knows what's truly going to happen in the future about politics of this country? But I'm just saying, from history, be aware that they always do this. They always try to push a prerogative for you to follow. Think for yourself. They lie. They're known to lie. Why would you believe liars? Why would you constantly put faith in liars? Why not sit back and say, "Hey, if they're telling me this and they've been known to lie a lot, maybe I should go see what's coming from the other side." Because, I mean, the world has news all around it. If you really want to find out what's going on in the world, go on YouTube, go on the internet, and look up world news. And you will find so many other places that are saying the stories are quite different. I mean, a lot of the times you find out a lot of them are more aligning towards what the rest of the world's saying, and then you have what the American media is saying, and it's disturbing in all factors and rights, because it's very different, very, very different colored pictures, So, that being said, I want to get down to the point of why they lie and what makes them lie. They're lying with a purpose. They want to have they have an objective they're trying to achieve, which is very true. They have a goal they're going for. They've been saying it left and right and putting it in our ears left and right and saying it in speeches left and right for the last like 20 years, because they don't put plans like this into order in just one small swoop. No, they try to push it. They've been trying to push the NATO objective forever and get all the countries involved in it, all the countries to work with it. Well, now they figure they can't. If they can't make countries all come together and work together, then they can beat up the ones that don't want to work with them and basically install their own governments there, like they've been trying to do in the smaller countries. But I mean, they're having trouble in the bigger countries, because you just can't walk into some of the bigger countries like Russia or China and just say, "Hey, get the hell out, we're going to put this person in." Because, I mean, if you look at the world nowadays, America's not really popular in any other country. We're not really looked at as like, "Yay, America." We're usually looked at as, "Oh, these assholes are here again." Because a lot of times, people are reflected by what they see by the actions of your government and your country. If we see the Germans acting all anal and wanting to push around Americans every time, and they're talking shit about America the whole time, every time a German comes over here, "Oh, fuck you, Germans." I'm not saying anything against any nationality. I love Germans. Don't get me wrong. I'm just using examples, so please don't take it the wrong way. I'm just using examples. So, that being said, regardless, our government goes around and tries to push around what they believe to be right. And I mean, I'm sorry, you wouldn't want me to come in your house and tell you how to arrange your furniture, how to handle your bills, and how to have relations with your wife or your husband, you wouldn't want somebody to come in and tell you how to do that. Now, these people have been living in their countries for far longer. We are still one of the youngest countries out there, and we're going around telling every other country how to live. But we have so many other problems with our country: the homeless rate, the national debt, the national growth. I mean, we're at 1% or lower from what I heard last. I mean, maybe with Trump we can get a little bit of that growth going for once, because he's bringing jobs back by his plan of taxing businesses that want to hire outside or produce outside of America. I mean, that's smart. I'm sorry, but we got to bring businesses back. That's one thing I do agree with on that. But regardless, my point being, I'm not going to get on that side, because I'm not pro anything. I'm pro happiness. I'm pro human. I want to see humans succeed and prevail and make it. So, okay, back to why they lie. They lie so to get an objective done, and their objective is to basically have this like hierarchy or this like business type thing where there's a couple of leaders or a panel of leaders, one main leader that's the final decision maker, kind of like any other business, any other high corporate business nowadays, and just have it all stream down from there, and all the lackeys go from there, and security and whatnot, and all the other positions down the fucking pyramid. And that being the way it is, that's their plan, and they want to do this worldwide. It's a basic way to put it. They want to link everybody together and have their own giant like way of saying, this happens over here, and this is the law for the world. They want to have like a president of the world, kind of like some Futurama bullshit, but it's what it's working out to be. It's what they're pushing for. But with certain world leaders being installed, like Putin in there, he's not up for that. He likes having his own land and living in it and not being told what to do. China's the same way. They're very, leave us the fuck alone, let us do our thing, we got our way of living. And a lot of other countries are that way, but a lot of other countries are smaller and don't have the resources or the defenses to say such things without knowing that they could truly lose everything. Yeah, I mean, it was the failed coup in Turkey recently last year that totally went under, but I mean, that's proof there's craziness going on. I mean, there's so much evidence of everything happening that is beyond what it should be. So, I'm going to finish on my final point of what makes them lie. What makes all these people, these media, these journalists, these people involved in the media, everybody from the cameraman to the guy in front of the camera, to the guy holding the sound piece, to the guy in the electronics booth, to the guy at the newspaper stand. If they're even still around, I'm not sure. I haven't seen one in a long time. I mean, they want success. They just want to live comfortably. They want to live without nonsense like most people do. They want to just live peacefully and happily, raise their families, try to have lives, and do good, succeed. And they think this is the way it's been working right now in the last 100 years. This is the way everybody's been doing things. So if I'm in the position to go down this road, I'm going to go down. Oh, they want me to lie. They want me to cheat a little bit. Okay, they always do it light at first. It's when you get really high up, that's when you start getting to the point where they tell you, either you join or you just don't succeed. I believe anybody up in the high ups of the elites in Hollywood or in politics involved in our country most of them are in some dark shit. Yeah, that's my belief, because I mean, there's a common knowledge of all the structures they have, and I mean the Freemasons and the Illuminati and all the talks of that. I mean, there's way too much talk for something not to exist. It's sorry, but there's way too much evidence that I've seen of different things left around, Masonic symbols and all the like, all over our history of our country. Like, it's written, it's right there. It's on our money. How more obvious can you be? But yeah, most of the little guys, they lie just to survive. You can't really hate them, but at the same time, you gotta look at them and when it comes time to choose which side you're gonna be on, you gotta choose quickly, because you can have long to choose. So I went a lot longer on this video than I usually do. Forgive me. But there was a lot I wanted to get out, and this subject can go on forever if it really wanted to. Everything I'm talking about, I do believe at this moment to be true. I am subject to change my opinions on these matters with new information obtained. That being said, I just, again, do this so you can have more knowledge. The knowledge that I have can hopefully be shared. If anybody wants to, you can research, look into, or check out what I'm saying. There is a lot of evidence in these things. I go by evidence. I try not to be partial, believe, this is the way it should be, or that's the way it should be. I look at the way that it could be, and what evidence points to that direction. And I mean, everybody's going to say, especially when interested or involved, with anything, if something bad has happened and somebody looks like they can be blamed, if somebody's blamed for anything, it hurts their career and their life. And the bigger it is, the bigger the blame, the bigger the downfall. So most of these people will lie and do anything they can to cover their asses. This is what will make them lie. Because once you're in, you're in. It's kind of like, in for a penny, in for a pound. Alright. So, that being said, I want to wish all of you safety and longevity of life and peace and happiness. To keep your eyes open and your mind open in the days to come, because it's a crazy world we live in these days. So, let's try to make things right. Let's try to do what we can to keep things right and not be afraid to stand up when we have to. So, hope you all are good and happy out there, and it's timeless. Timeless talks.